Hello and welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm John Bachman. I'm joined now by Matt Kibbe, President of FreedomWorks. Thanks for talking to us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, I've read some of the stuff that's been coming out about FreedomWorks. You guys are not exactly enthusiastic about the Republican presidential race right now, and you're focusing more of your efforts on local and state races. Tell me, what are some of the most important legislative priorities on the local and state level and here in Washington that you guys want to see happen in 2012?
Well, I think the biggest prize for fiscal conservatives is how and who wins the Senate in this next cycle, because everybody knows, or at least thinks they know, that Republicans could pick up the majority. But what's more interesting is who those Republicans might be. We just had a leadership fight between what I would call more establishment Republicans and the Freedom Caucus in the U.S. Senate, and the good guy, Senator Johnson, came up 2 votes short, which means we're very close to not only taking the Senate for Republicans, but taking the Senate for conservatives.
And what are some of the legislative, some of the bills that have already come out of the House, some of the jobs bills? I think there's been more than 30 jobs bills that have come out of the House and kind of died in the Senate. What are some of those issues in those bills that you would think might finally get to the president's desk?
Oh, I think we have to do something about spending and things like the Ryan budget. The best jobs bill we could pass would actually be balancing the budget. I think doing something about the automatic tax increase that's about to kick in at the end of the year, the expiration of the Bush tax rate, something has to be done about that. Something about the big foot of government on the neck of business has to be dealt with, and that's what we would like to see come out of the House and the Senate, regardless of who the next president is. I think all that legislative entrepreneurship could come from the bottom up, which is the ethos of the Tea Party movement. We're not looking for some leader to solve all our problems for us. What we're looking for is a leader that's actually responsive to the people.
Let me get your thoughts also on this birth control mandate. That it seems like there might be an announcement coming out of the White House this morning that they might be willing to compromise. Would you claim that as a victory for smaller government, or do you think that, it's, unless there's a total overhaul or Obamacare is done away with, it's still just not enough?
I suppose it's a tactical victory, but it proves the point we were making from day one. As long as the government is making decisions about your health care, you have to go to Washington to get permission to act on your conscience, to do what you think is best for your family, to get the health care you need. That's not acceptable in America. We need to repeal the thing. We need to pull it out by its roots, because health care decisions should be based on individuals working with their families and their doctors. We don't need a bureaucrat in Washington deciding for us.
And do you see any more issues like this coming up as more of the healthcare legislation goes into effect?
The whole basis of Obamacare is a mandated benefits package that you have to buy based on an individual mandate, whether you can afford it or whether you need it. It sets up the whole process to be politicized. The only way that you get what you want out of healthcare is if you have a man in Washington. You have to lobby the government, you have to play the game, you have to pay the piper. That's not going to lead to more efficient healthcare. It's going to drive up costs, and it's going to ensure that nobody gets what they want, but they're going to pay a lot of money for it.
And when people look back on CPAC 2012, what do you think will be the most memorable or most impactful thing to come out of CPAC this year?
I really think what's going on at CPAC is a microcosm of politics in America today. You have this new bottom-up community of activists, and it's not just the Tea Party. It's a very decentralized world where individuals have more power over the system, versus the top-down poobahs telling us who the nominee would going to be. And we have this clash this time. I don't think it's going to be that way next time. I think next time, bottom-up decides who the nominee is, and the top-down don't get to anymore.
I think one of the things that surprises a lot of people is when they see the crowd here at CPAC, how young it actually is. A lot of them are college students and just out of college. Do you think that the Republican Party is properly addressing those ideals that the younger members of the party are talking about, the more libertarian ideals?
Yeah, I think they need to, and I think that more traditional conservatives need to be careful about how they treat the young Ron Paul Republicans. And there's been some clash on that, but if you look at what's happening to the Millennial Generation in America today, these are the folks that we should be reaching out to first. You have all these mandates like health care. They have all of this inflated government-driven education debt hanging around their necks like an albatross. And they can't get a job. They're the most unemployed sector of the entire geography of America. And yet, we haven't really connected with them yet. That's the future. That's where we need to be. And Ron Paul has been able to do that with a message based on freedom.
Somewhat ironic since he's the oldest candidate out there.
That's right.
All right, Matt Kibbe, President of FreedomWorks, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.